Your childhood household dynamic is impacting your financial life in ways that you don't even know about. Some of them you might be aware of, but most you are not. It's so subtle. And over the course of coaching more than 150,000 people worldwide and doing God knows how much healing work, therapy, all the things on myself, I have created, and it's one of my life works, it is the imprint, and I call them your childhood money imprint. And I have boiled them down to four different imprints so that you can see which one you identify with the most and how that particular imprint is impacting your money life now. That why you call in abundance, why you repel abundance, and what it is that you can do about it to change it. Because you can grow up in a house of chaos like I did, but we have the ability to switch our story and start fresh and reclaim our abundance at any time. And I can't wait for you to dig into this series. We're at part one, baby. Let's go. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. And yes, we are coming in live from the bathtub today. And so if you are someone who is not subscribed to ProjectME TV on YouTube, you need to, just for this, because we're moving this set around. We can have a money bed and we can also be in the abundance bath. And I thought this was only appropriate to kick off this series that is accumulation of years and years of research on my part, clinical data on my part, in working with so many people from all different backgrounds all over the world, plus the work that I've done on myself. And there are four different childhood money imprints. The first one, which is part one, what we're doing today, the feast or famine imprint. Then there's the scarcity imprint, the anxiously abundant imprint, and then the abundance imprint. So as you go through this series, I want you to kind of determine which imprint feels like that was the best and most similar to your childhood experience. Now, if you were raised in a household where you were in multiple homes, maybe you were in foster care and you bounced around, maybe your parents were divorced like mine and you spent time in two different households, I do want you to identify the imprint of the different households. So if you spent a lot of time, for example, at your grandmother's house, if there was a significant time spent there, I also want you to determine the imprint of that house. And what's wild is they can all be vastly different. And we're going to get into that in today's episode. What I've noticed about this feast or famine imprint is people who also had multiple homes they spent a lot of time in end up falling into this category because you might have gone to a parent's house who was more in an abundant imprint. And then there might have been a grandparent's house you spent a lot of time at that were more in like a scarcity type imprint. So it's like you have almost like a disorganized attachment to money. And that's a separate series that went viral, which are my attachment theory applied to money. And that would be a perfect pairing with this. But I really would like for you to determine your imprint first. So when it comes to the feast or famine, this is how it looked in your childhood. And everyone's circumstances are different, but I want to give you some key highlights and key identifiers for you. So you could have grown up with a parent who was in a particular profession where sometimes there was a lot of money, sometimes there wasn't. So entrepreneurship, maybe they were in sales. They were in a certain type of an industry where there were different times of the year where there were highs and lows. Maybe you had a parent who was an addict, and this is very common. Almost always, in fact, I've noticed is feast or famine. If especially if the primary, so to speak, breadwinner of the family, it was the addict, the feast or famine follows suit with the addict personality. All or nothing, right? Like acting chaos or acting collected. And it was all over the place. And that feast or famine, what it ends up creating in you, and I'm going to give you some more scenarios to help you identify, it ends up creating so much stress in your nervous system around money that you now today as an adult can read money and even talking about money, even thinking about money, even looking at your bills, even doing your taxes as like so stressful that you avoid it. You bury your head in the sand like an ostrich around it. It feels like it's just too much. You get overwhelmed really easily. You might have even gone as far as being someone who really does not want to discuss it at all, like pure avoidance around the topic because it was so volatile growing up. Now, I'm giving you an extreme example, right? Where it's like sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't. I've had clients where, I mean, from one year to the next, they could be so cash flush, going on trips, amazing Christmases. And then the next year, it was like they were living in an apartment or living in a car, living at a friend's house, and they were constantly told there's no money for anything. What do you think this causes in a child's nervous system? What do you think this imprints? It's basically saying, I can't trust money when it comes. I can't trust abundance. I can't trust it to stay. And then what ends up happening is we recreate our childhood experiences with things. We all know, those of you who have been as much therapy as me, we all know that we do this already when it comes to relationships. You know, people like, oh, you marry your father, you marry your mother. We recreate relationship dynamics that we have not yet healed because we are subconsciously trying to heal those and work through those and get our needs met now that weren't met in childhood through these relationships. But realistically, most people don't realize they're even doing that. It is no different when it comes to money. That's why I say money is such a powerful energy. It really is. And what happens is you might now have money coming in, but you spend it really fast. You have a hard time holding on to it because that feeling of feast or famine is imprinted in you. That's what feels familiar. That's what feels comfortable, even though you don't like it, even though it causes you anxiety, even though it causes you shame, even though you might even hate it. It still feels familiar. And so your nervous system reads that as normal and reads that as safe. So you will subconsciously and even consciously do behaviors that mimic how you felt around money growing up. And so if it was, sometimes they could afford it, sometimes they couldn't. You couldn't trust it. You didn't know when it was going to be there, when it wasn't going to be there. You picked up the nonverbal cues, the nonverbal energy in your household. You're recreating that now. So maybe you even got in a career where there's lots of highs and lows. Maybe you notice in your business there's lots of highs and lows in your business. Maybe you're in acting, you're a singer, you're some kind of an artist where there are ebbs and flows. You don't know where you're going to get the next gig. You know, that mimics that same feeling. And in that feast or famine, you also observed things from those caregivers. You observed how they behaved, how they spoke. It wasn't just about what they could afford to buy, but it's their energy when they were flush with cash and their energy when they weren't. And I want you to really, I mean, truly, you should really journal on this. And I know some of you get a rash at the thought of journaling, but the truth comes out when we journal. I literally would like fire therapists if they told me out of the gate to journal. I was so resistant to journaling. I didn't know why. I was just like, I don't want to journal. I just want to talk. Well, the truth comes out when we write things down, which is why my Make More, Work Less Money Manifestation course is so powerful and transformative, because the guided workbook that comes with it, that's 70 pages, it's designed so that it feels fun, almost like an adult activity book. And it gets you to answer questions that you've never even thought of, these questions before that you would never normally answer, which gets you to the root of everything. And you definitely want to go get that. That link's in the show notes. That is going to pay off tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars over the course of your life. The cost of not digging through this stuff, digging through your imprints and transforming them and shifting them into abundance is everything. You won't start the thing, or you'll start and stop. So my zigzaggers, you guys who go this way, then you go that way, and then you this isn't working. Oh, that didn't work. I tried this and that didn't work. And you throw the spaghetti at the wall, and then this isn't working. You're likely in that feast or famine household. It mimics that same energy. And you're going to continue this just like in relationships. You're going to continue to attract people, places, things, and experience based on your imprint if it's left unchecked, if you're not doing something to shift it, to heal it, to manage it. That's why I'm so emphatic about this stuff. I didn't have any of mine in check either until I paid a really big price, which is why I'm so passionate about it. Like, this is the best ROI. This is the ROI. I really can almost not take myself seriously that I am podcasting from a bathtub. Like, who knew that we were going to get to this level of zero fucks given? Zero fucks given. I certainly was not aware that I would get to this level, and I'm kind of here for it. Are we liking this? Do we like me traipsing all over the world and podcasting from unexpected places? I delight in it. I really hope you do. And if you are not subscribed to ProjectME TV on YouTube, you really should, just for this. Okay. So other things that happen in that feast or famine household, it could have looked like you had a parent who had a profession where they worked for a really toxic boss or just a toxic industry, and they didn't know if they were going to get fired. You know, they didn't like it. They were always up against, like, I could get fired at any minute. I don't know if this is going to last. And they were very expressive about it, whether that was energetically or verbally. I mean, kids are way smarter than people give them credit for. And we know I don't have children, but I mean, even my goddaughter, it's like, wow, it's amazing what they pick up on so quickly. And to think that a kid doesn't pick up of the energetics, of the unsaid, of the unspoken in the house. So what were some things in your childhood that you knew not to ask for, or you knew when not to ask and when to ask when it came to money, whether it was money to go to the mall, or you wanted to go on a school field trip, or you needed new like soccer cleats, or you wanted to go see a movie, whatever it is? There is no way every single person listening right now, because kids and teens are the most manipulative creatures on earth. They're just wired that way, where you didn't have to make sure you picked the right time and the right vibe to ask for it. And if you grew up in a feast or famine household, you were hyper vigilant to this, because in order for you to get like your, so to speak, needs met, and I don't just mean like love, but I mean the selfish needs of, you know, a kid and a teen, right? Like, you want money to do things, you want a toy, you want your nails done, whatever it is. You really had to observe mannerisms. You had to overhear conversations. You had to read cues and signals and subtleties. So this causes a hypervigilance, and likely you do this now in your current life. Maybe you're someone who even hides packages that you buy from your partner. You might have even married a partner that is in a feast or famine job. You might be in that current environment. It might not be your profession, but it might be their profession, or they came from a feast or famine household. And so now they're acting that out and you're following suit. Other signs that you have this imprint going on is you really don't have a belief that you can have the abundance. Like on a good day, you might be like, I know this is available for me. I see it's available for Tiffany. You know, she has great guests on that are proof. Tiff shows the receipts. I have a cousin that has this or that. Like, I do see it's available for me, but it's more so you don't feel it. You know it is maybe above the neck, but you don't have a deep rooted knowing of believing in yourself. Like, I know I can have this. And it's all because of you couldn't trust abundance growing up. You were taught, even innocently, and I'm not throwing shade at parents. Okay. I mean, if you had an abusive parent, I'll throw shade all day, honey. But, you know, the most people, they didn't know that they were doing this. I will never forget this. And I'm sure you have a memory like this too. I have a memory, and I would not identify as feast or famine, although you can kind of bleed into a couple areas here. All right. Like, so don't go, oh my God, I don't know which category. I feel like I'm in two. You can be in two, but just know if you're in two, there's a lot more of the feast or famine kind of going on. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs, which is why I didn't want to be an entrepreneur, but that was for other reasons I've shared on other episodes. There wasn't the feast or famine. There was definitely like, I was not in that. And we'll get to that in packaged goods world. So she had a client go bankrupt and someone was like delayed on paying and there was something else. And she was truly up against it on payroll. And she shared this with me in detail at an inappropriate age. Like, I think I was maybe 8 or 9. And that's a very adult problem, right? And if you had a parent that was sharing heavy financial stuff with you at an inappropriate age where you can't do anything about it, you're helpless, you're dependent on this person, and they're sharing this stuff with you, or they're venting to you, or they're talking about it right in front of you, it's very scary. It can even be traumatizing. So some of you have money trauma. And I always say, you got money trauma from childhood. That is definitely causing your money drama today. That is an absolute factor. And I remember being so scared based on what my mom was telling me, because it sounded like such a catastrophe. And oh my God, like, and she's like, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll. And I'm going to, this is not going to be a good Christmas this year. So don't expect anything for Christmas. And, like you hear that as a kid and you're like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? It's so scary. And I remember that, how like, I mean, at least back in my day, I didn't get money for chores. That was not my household. My household was you do child labor and you're lucky to live here. That was how I grew up. I'm not saying that was healthy, but I had maybe money left over from being given money to go to the mall, or who knows. I don't even know how I had money, but like I probably had $17 between change and like dollar bills. And I remember that I left it all on my mom's vanity because I felt so helpless as a little girl and I didn't know what to do. And I had no understanding, right, of like how much money it would take to make payroll. And I put that there. And you want to know what? She kept it. Exactly. I'm even silenced as I'm saying it now. And because she kept it, I read it as she also needed it. And that really stuck with me. So this is how deep I want you to go. There's no way there wasn't a period in time or a few periods where there was something that happened. It could be that you were flush, like mom or pops, took everybody on some grand trip. Maybe you had a parent who was very gregarious and overspent and was spending all of the time and then would have no money. Or you had a parent who was like gambling or a shopping addict and you just never knew what to expect. It didn't feel safe. So now money doesn't feel safe to you. It doesn't feel reliable. It doesn't feel dependable. So if it doesn't feel safe, why would you call more of it into your life? Why would you call in more of something that doesn't feel safe? Because your nervous system is reading, if I have it, it's only going to go away. So why would I want to have it? Because I don't want it to go away. I don't want the feeling of it going away. So I might as well not have it, or I might as well not even try and go for it. I might as well not even bother going for the lifestyle changing cash that I want, because is this really possible after all? Like, I know it's possible for these other people, but like, what are really the chances? That's feast or famine. And it really comes down to that safety and security and feeling like you can trust that you can trust this money that's here. You can trust yourself with it too. That's a big one. You can trust that you know what to do with it, that you're a good steward of it. And I have clients who have a lot of money who work with me and they struggle because they have so much fear that they're not going to be a good steward of the money they're making. They're going to sabotage everything. They're going to blow it all up. And it all comes from this feast or famine household. So how can you start switching that narrative? What can you do to work on it? I like keeping everything for you guys so simple and straightforward. We don't have time to do unnecessarily hard work. And what I would say about it is I need you to work on nervous system regulation around money and building a trusting, loving relationship with it. And this is going to sound whack, what I want you to do, but I'm telling you it works. I need you to take money out of the bank. I would prefer it to be, I mean, obviously there's people listening and we're top 5, by the way, you guys, in over 57 countries now. This is insane. Thank you so much for being such loyal, supportive listeners and writing reviews for the show. That really goes a long way. And if you want to pay it forward and pay the abundance forward for everything that's done here on the show, and it really helps you, please write a 5-star Apple podcast review. If you're a Spotify listener, you can tap the 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, please comment. Please share this series and share this episode. It goes a long way, and I appreciate you guys so much. So I want you to take like $50 bills, $100 bills, not like, I don't want you taking like low currencies, okay? And I need you to take out enough, and I want it on your bedside table, like the actual paper. And I want it to sit there. I want you to see it when you go to bed. I want you to wake up and you see it there in the morning. I want to take the edge off, the fear off, the lack of trust off, with money. And because you've made money be such a bigger thing that it needs to be. It's like, I want to desensitize it to you. It's just there. And it's there when you go to bed, and it's there when you wake up. If you follow me on Instagram, which you should, and also on TikTok, totally 2 different sources of content. I don't regurgitate the content on there. So you for sure want to follow on both. Both are at ProjectME with Tiffany. And I often share in my stories, right? Like, I have artwork in my house that is made from money. You guys know part of my branding is like, money symbols, and I'll have a money hat. And I'm not saying you have to go that far with it, but I would love it if in your office or somewhere that you see where you go into a lot of room you go into often, I need something that resembles abundance and money to you so that you just see it everywhere. That's why I do that. I mean, truly, and I'm sure someone makes it, I would have, as long as it was like high quality, money wallpaper in at least like one room of a house or one accent wall. It just keeps reinforcing to your brain. It's everywhere. It's available. It's accessible. It's here. It's not going anywhere. And money flows in and money does flow out, and money flows out, and it's always going to come back in. It's not going to let you down, and you're not going to let yourself down with it. And so I want you to be able to do that for yourself. And you can come up with other creative ways to do this. Some people have fun with it and create artwork with it, or they'll do crafting with it, and they'll get a really nice, like, large mason jar, and they'll line the outside edges with money and almost make like a vase out of it. I've seen people do some really cool stuff with it. But I want you to just see it as all this is something you can trust. It's safe. I can trust myself with it. And you have to have those conversations with yourself. It is safe for me to be abundant. It's safe for me to receive large amounts of money. It's safe for me to have a lot of clients. It's safe for me to have all this. I'm not going to lose it. It's not going to go away. It's safe for me to receive. It's safe for me to receive. And yes, money does flow in and money does go out. And this is not that. I don't need to do the reoccurring patterns that I've done in the past or that my parents did or my caregivers did. I get to do things differently. I don't need to live in those extremes that cause our nervous system to go all over the place and be dysregulated all the time. I can look at money as security, money as safety, money as a dependable resource for me. So I need you to really keep repeating things like that to yourself. Taking an abundance bath, which is why I'm in the bath right now, right? Like, do things deliberately that are going to feel good to your nervous system, but your focus is on abundance. Your focus is on receiving. So I have coming out something really special that's going to help you with this. So stay tuned. You definitely want to be on my Secret Posse Weekly Digest email list, which is free. And that's amazing content for you in there. Those are me. Those are my words in there. This is not some like chatbot AI writing emails to you. And you'll get first dibs on this. But wow, you sit in a space where your nervous system feels calm, you feel regulated, and you feel safe. And then you're listening to things like maybe you're listening to my guided meditations. Maybe you're listening to this episode right now while you're soaking in the tub, while you're showering, while you're stretching, while you're putting on lotion, while you're doing something enjoyable, you're walking out in nature. And it's safe. It's safe to talk about money. It's safe to have money. It's safe to receive money. It's safe to hold money. It's safe to spend money. And you keep doing that work, and you're going to create a new shift in a program to where you're going to see what happens even pretty quickly of it coming in. Because if you're so afraid of it going away, there's no way you can allow much of it in. You're in like a tug of war with yourself, which is why you feel like you have almost like a bipolar business going on where it's like, well, some months are this and some months are this and some months are that. This is where the root is coming from for you. And I know right now you're probably going, wow, my mind is blown. Like, this is even a lot for me to take in. And I want to unpack this, but I really don't want to have to like go back there because there's some uncomfortable memories, in my childhood. And I mean, it doesn't really sound fun. It's not like, yay, I get to unpack my money trauma from childhood. Like, no, none of us are sitting there thinking that's fun. But what is the catch of you not doing this work? You're not going to be able to out strategize or outwork this stuff. I promise you. I tried for many years myself. I have coached many people who have tried for many years until they waved the white flag and came to me for help. And you're wanting to go even deeper into this work, for sure. My Make More Work Less Money and Manifestation course, you will absolutely love it. There's several video modules. There's literally my most powerful guided manifestation meditation that is in there, that it moves me to tears thinking about it and how many people that's helped. It's safe. It's okay. You are going to be okay. You're going to be more than okay. It's safe to be abundant. It's safe to have all the things that you want. And I know when you have accumulated things and maybe you have a life that you love or a lifestyle that you love right now and you don't want it to go away. But if you're so afraid of it going away, you'll end up pushing it away. Haven't you experienced people who do this in relationships? They're so afraid someone's going to cheat. They're so afraid someone's going to leave them. They squeeze it. They suffocate it. They put so much pressure on it that's the actual thing that happens. You create a self-fulfilling prophecy. The very thing you don't want to have happen happens. I know, because I had $1 million in the bank by the time I was 30 years old, like 7 figures. That was my goal. I almost killed myself to reach that goal. And 3 months, almost all of it was gone. And it was because of this stuff. But that had to happen. And that level of pain had to happen around money to wake me up to do the work that I was meant to do to now pay it forward to help you. You're thinking it's going to be so hard to bring in the money and keep the money that you want or have the consistency of the money that you want, the clients that you want in your life. It's actually not hard. The hard part is, I guess you could say, emotionally, doing this kind of work. The strategy stuff is simple. I teach all that in my ProjectME Posse business coaching membership. It's this stuff that's repelling it. It's not because you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're too old, you don't know tech, you're not an extrovert, you're not charismatic enough, you're a sensitive person. It's not that stuff. It's this deeper rooted stuff. And the deeper you go, the dollars will flow. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.